Welcome, everybody, to the Mansfield Buzz.
Welcome to Mansfield Buzz, Jordan Hurdy in the mix, spotlighting local stories, every episode's a fix, unearthing unique gems, what makes them shine. Tune in, get ready, we're diving into their grind. With Jordan's questions, we reveal what's at the core. Hurdy's tech wizardry, bringing stories to the fore. Together we create, start showcasing what's unique. Mansfield Buzz, where content creation sleek. Calling all business owners and customers to the scene. Discover authentic gems, find the best you've ever seen. Meet the faces behind each unique space. Trust in their stories, find community in this place.
All right, if that music ends abruptly, which I love, welcome to the Mansfield Buzz, everybody. It's Thursday, 2 o'clock. We're on live every Thursday. Jordan, we've been doing this since March 2024. Jordan and I have blocked out this time completely, and it's now a habit, right, Jordan? It's just a total habit. We are here to cover another local business. We have Russ Arnold with the Children's Academy today. We're going to talk to him in a few minutes, but just to let you guys know, we are your host. Jordan sitting over there. We'll be asking all the questions today. Yours truly likes to be on the technical side of this and make sure everything's on the good, but we both can manage this. We both have access to the dashboard, which is really cool. So if you want to join us on YouTube right now, if you're already there watching, great. What we want you to do is, first of all, there's a little thumb right under this video on YouTube. Click that, because that helps the Google algorithm find us and gives them some credibility and relevant to the show. Also, send it to 5 friends and say, come check out this fantastic show, and get them to subscribe. We're at 161 subscribers. We're still growing. We're averaging about 14 new subscribers every 28 days. We're still averaging close to 1,600, 2,000 views per month and around 35 to 45 watch time hours. We did hit a 50 watch time hour a couple of weeks ago, so we're pretty happy with that. It is local, so it's not like somebody in California cares. Okay, so there's a reason why we have to grow it slow. If you want to be on the show, you can email me at hurdy@hurdyburke.com. Just put in the subject line, I want to be a part of the fantastic Phantasmo show. I want to meet Jordan and hear his great questions. Just put that in the subject line and say I'm in. And that would be great. And then, of course, Jordan, I came up with another idea. We got a travel company's going to be signing up 9 shows with us to go through 9 really popular trips, but to teach people the things that they miss. Like, for instance, she told the story the other day about the person that we won't name names that got booked on her flight to go down to Florida. And
on last episode on the Mansfield Buzz,
the cruise was going out of Fort Lauderdale, but the person flew to Miami, had their room in Miami, and had to call the travel agent to get them a car to get them to Fort Lauderdale the next morning so they could get on the cruise ship. So use your travel agents through everything. All right. So, but we're excited about that. We're also got let me go ahead and play our icebreakers for our sponsor. I'll read a couple minutes and show you a video. Then we'll get the Russ here in a few minutes. So right now we're into our icebreaker. All right, everybody. So I have to read this. This is from We Are Liberty Tax Defenders, your premier tax resolution firm. We work every day to help hardworking Americans keep more of their money out of the hands of the overzealous bureaucrats. I paid a little bit to those overzealous bureaucrats this year. We help our clients solve problems with back taxes, unfiled tax returns, payroll, trust fund issues. We also negotiate payment plans and offers and compromise that are favorable to our clients, as well as represent clients who are under audit before the IRS. And I'm going to just throw in a note right here. Brad Horton is the mayor of Kenningdale. His partner, Wade Dennis, and his other partner, Fred. Brad, if you go look at their website, they got master's degree in taxes, okay? And Brad wrote the code for the IRS on the real tough things that he helps clients with today. So I've often said, the best advertisement to work with somebody at the IRS is somebody that worked for the IRS and wrote their code, because they understand it inside and out. And he's helped a lot of people through audits. So they successfully saved their clients. That should be $2 million. I am going to change that. I promise I'm going to change that next week. $2 million in excess tax penalties. If you find yourself under audit, you can always call them at 817-995-5008 or go visit their website at libertytaxdefenders.com. They're right here in our backyard. They're great guys. So if you'll just give me 1 minute, we'll go ahead and show a quick 33-second video.
I don't agree with the IRS's position. What are my options?
Well, you can tell them to pound sand, which so few people do this. Don't just agree. They're wrong so often. You have rights. You can appeal it. The appeal must be made within 30 days of the date that the IRS has made a determination. You file a formal notice of appeal and you present your case before appeals. And they consider how much is it going to cost the IRS to go to court. At the end of the day, what's another 12 to 18 months if you save yourself 50 grand in the long run, which is, I think that's being conservative.
All right, so there you go. You met two of the key principals for their company. They're awesome guys. We know them as personal friends. We like them. One other thing, I'm going to be sending an email to past guests to send us a short 1 minute to 3 minute video clip. I'm going to send them a Dropbox link where we can upload it. We're going to create a playlist of testimonials on our Mansfield Buzz starting next week, and we're going to upload a couple of those so people can hear straight from our guests. And Jordan, with that, We've got a great guest. Russ has been with us before. This is the beauty of managing, 3 different businesses, kind of like, sort of. We had him on for Firearm Solutions. Now we're going to talk about the Children's Academy. So, Jordan, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you. Russ, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Nice being here.
I can see now you're on school mode. You got the glasses and everything.
Oh, yeah. Different look, different business.
Perfect. You get branding.
There you go.
So I wanted to kick us off with icebreakers, and this one's nice because I think it's something that we know a lot of the people, we know a lot of the same people in our networks, but I don't think a lot of people know this. But you and I have something in common. I did marketing for a ballroom dancing company called Dance With Me, and through chatting about that with you, I found out you have a pretty interesting past with ballroom dancing.
Yes, I do. I was involved in ballroom dancing for close to 25 years, and started out as a teacher in Detroit, Southfield, Michigan, and then wound up being a franchisee and then a studio owner. In fact, I moved to Dallas to run the Arthur Murray Dance Studios in Dallas and Fort Worth. And then after that, opened my own schools. And when I sold the schools, I had 2 in the Fort Worth area, 1 in the mid-cities, and 1 right there at University. They're in the cultural district on the west side of Fort Worth. And one was called Mid-Cities Dance. The other was called Fort Worth Dance. And it was a great business. I got started about a year and a half, maybe 2 years before Saturday Night Fever. So timing could not have been better from my standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I got out just prior to the Dancing with the Stars, which at that point, the whole industry just went through the atmosphere and and as far as people wanting to dance. So it's a fun sport. It's a sport for life. You can do it forever. Great way to stay in shape. In fact, within about 6 months of quitting, and I wasn't teaching and dancing every day, but I was still teaching and dancing some. Within 6 months of leaving the industry, I fast gained about 30 pounds.
Wow.
Simply because I just wasn't active anymore.
Yeah.
So what little bit I was doing, it keeps the weight off. Yeah, no, I highly recommend it. You bet.
Good. Super.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. And you also emceed competitions, didn't you?
I did. I was master of ceremonies. There was in fact, it was the predecessor to Dancing with the Stars. It was called Championship Ballroom Dancing. It was filmed by PBS and then aired on a lot of their stations, all over the country. Mm-hmm. So I emceed that competition probably for about 20 years. I was the first MC they ever had. Back when it was a one-day event, and now it's like a week-long event. Oh gosh, they've got to be at 25, 30,000 entries now. I mean, it's the largest dance competition in the world. I mean, it's just absolutely fabulous. Yeah. So I did Master of Ceremonies there and was on, PBS, Channel 13 here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So that was fun. Had an opportunity to do a lot of different things. That's good. Yeah.
So somewhere in the archives, if I start looking around, I'm going to find a video of you emceeing the competition.
I think if you Google or go to YouTube, and just put in championship ballroom dancing, you may not see my face, but you will definitely hear my voice.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, and every once in a while, I'll be listening to something or searching the internet, or I used to go into different studios and just kind of visit, and they would have the program on, and I would hear my voice or see the image again. So it's still out there. It's still around. Yeah.
That's super cool. That's really neat. And kind of a good segue, because you used to teach, and now you own a school.
I do. Most people get involved in the dance industry because they're dance nuts. And that's the way they can afford their dance habit, as they become a teacher, and the teaching then affords for them to take the lessons they need to do to be a quote unquote professional dancer. I didn't get into the dance industry because of the dancing part of it. I enjoyed dancing. I was relatively good at it, but I really enjoyed the teaching aspect of the dance business. And prior to that, I was a ski instructor in and around the Detroit area. And so I've always really enjoyed teaching, especially teaching motor coordinated type activities. So when I got out of the dance industry and stopped teaching and training teachers there, it was kind of a natural fit to kind of get into the childcare Montessori industry and again, use my education experience to start me out in that industry as well. So yeah, that's how that transition kind of happened.
That's really cool. And that's that's really cool. I mean, I can totally see you kind of just putting those together and getting into it. How long have you been running the Children's Academy?
We built the Children's Academy, which is on Country Club Drive, right across from the fire station, 1770. We built it and finished it in 1995.
Wow.
Now, the Children's Academy, or at that point it was called Overland Stage Children's Academy, actually was started in 1983.
Wow.
So the predecessor to the Children's Academy was Overland Stage. And then in 1995, we opened up the Mansfield location, which became the Children's Academy. And now it's the Children's Academy Country Club Montessori. So I just did, in fact, probably right about now is when we opened up. So we are right at 30 years here in Mansfield.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, long time.
That's incredible. And so people can pinpoint it. This is that's you're talking about the intersection where El Primos is, right?
No, this is a little bit up the road from there. So
Okay.
It's on the other side of Texas Trust. So you've got the fire station that's on Country Club. Right across from the fire station is the Children's Academy. Then next to us is Texas Trust. And then on the other side of Texas Trust is El Primos and the vault. And that's where the promotional store and the firearm store is.
Yep.
So they're all within literally a quarter of a mile of each other.
Yeah.
But it's just, you can't miss it. It's 2 acres. It's huge. We've got 3 playgrounds. It's a 9,000 square foot building. It was built as a child care center. When we bought the land, there was a brick house there. And I think it was the Wrights owned it, if memory serves me correct. And we tried every which way to figure out how we could save that house and use it, and we couldn't. So we had to tear down the house and then build the building. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna run, just to interrupt you for a minute, Jordan. I'm gonna run by there tomorrow and take a little vertical shot of it so we can put it back on this archive. So
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
show it off a little bit.
Yep. So we've been here for a long time. We were really, before us, there were a couple smaller centers in the area, like the Children's Center was still here. A couple of other small kind of mom and pop type daycares. but there were no big chains. There was no Courtyard. There was no Primrose. There was none of those were in Mansfield at all. So we were really the first center in Mansfield that had a really big, well-designed building that was designed to be a relatively large childcare center. And then, of course, after us, all the chains kind of came in when McDonald's and Burger King and all of that stuff as Mansfield grows. I mean, yeah. And that's it. They have this magic number, most of these big companies. And when you hit that number, you know, they're coming to your town because they know at that point they can make a living. The town can support them. Yeah. Yeah.
Good statistic. But your school is still a little different, right? I mean, there is definitely you guys are I would say you guys are different than other schools in Mansfield.
Well, we are a child care center, so we are licensed by child care licensing. Mansfield also has a relatively small licensing division that's ran by the fire department, so we interact with them as well. But what makes us different, in addition to being a child care center, we're a Montessori school. So our curriculum is a Montessori curriculum as opposed to a typical child care curriculum. Mm-hmm. We do go through private kindergarten. You know, with COVID, kind of some of that was put on the back burner a little bit, but now that we're through that, you know, we really plan on going forward with the private kindergarten full force and get that back up and running and get it going again. Now, in addition to all of that, we are also a Christian-based center. So we say prayers in the morning. The children learn how to say prayers, you know, before lunch, before snack. They're taught the Bible. In fact, part of the curriculum or part of our curriculum that is posted for our parents to see mm-hmm. is Bible verses that hopefully relate to whatever subject we're teaching that particular week or that particular month. So it's really a great combination for us. You know, the Christian values, the conservative values, the Montessori, which is hands-on learning. We can maybe talk a little more about that farther on in the interview, and then obviously childcare. You know, people have to go to work, and they need to have a place that they trust and they feel comfortable leaving their children at.
And that's a big one because there, you know, before, you know, earlier on there weren't that many choices, but now there is, I would say probably too many. And you know, as a parent, and you know, well, my son's now 8, but you know, when he was younger, it was a big part of me was just finding a place that I could trust because there is, it's gotten a little too commercial. So it's difficult to find who actually has the right values in place.
It's, there's a lot of centers out there and it can be a very rewarding business. I mean, when you think in terms of, so that first class of infants that we had in 1995, 1996, okay, they're currently now 30 years old.
Wow.
So we are actually starting our third generation. So we're already at the second generation and we're about 10 years into it. So within the next 5 to 10 years, it's conceivable that we will have the child of a child of a parent, where now we have the child of a child, no, the child of a child of a child of a parent. As we go through that third generation, you know, where they started and then their kids started and their kids' kids, you know, will basically start.
That's really cool.
And every once in a while, you know, I've lived in Mansfield. We moved to Mansfield about the same time we opened the center. The center is about a mile or two from my house. And every once in a while, I will run across someone who's in their mid-20s who will remind me, oh, you remember I was at the Children's Academy when I was 6 months old. Okay. And they're still in the area and they have kids.
That's pretty cool though.
It is cool. It is cool. And then only, again, that I like to call Mansfield the smallest big city or smallest big town in the country, because right. No matter how big it gets, you still have that small town feeling.
Yes.
And, true. And that's one of the reasons you run into people that you've known forever every once in a while, and you get to reminisce a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I will say, now that I know your different businesses, that is one thing I do feel have in common is you have that small town relatability. They're all very they have this really accessible, relatable feel to it.
Well, all of our businesses either are or at some point have been operated by family members, or family members have been the key management team. Coming out of the Children's Academy, when we have someone's baby at 6 weeks, and we keep them, we used to go through first grade, so some of them we kept through first grade. Now we are seeing them every single week. Some of them 8, 9, 10, 11, some even 12 hours a day. And so you develop that family feeling, through the Children's Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, dad, their problems, their issues. You know how many divorces they've had, because we've probably been involved in 1 or 2 of them, from the standpoint of their children are at the center. So we hear all the back and forth. So you definitely have that family feel. It's worked very well for us in the Children's Academy. So that same feel was taken into the gun store, that same feel taken into the promotional store. We're not a big company that's no name. You call any one of our businesses, there's a live person that answers the phone.
Absolutely.
You will never, ever get a push 1 for this or push 2 for that. I guarantee you. And if you do get that, I died. Okay, so my funeral was last week. Okay, I'm gone. It's over. And that will be the only time that any of them will be able to go through any kind of a
I love that
voicemail type thing like that.
Oh, that's great.
It's that personal touch. We and you're talking to an owner. You're talking to someone who can make a decision and solve your problem.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get it. Well, I'll talk to so-and-so who'll talk to such and such. Who'll talk to so-and-so, and we'll get back to you in a week or 2. Yeah,
no. Yeah, that's smart.
That's phenomenal. Now, I wanted to pull a little bit on that thread, because earlier you talked about you really enjoyed teaching, especially when dealing with motor skills. And then you talked a little bit about Montessori, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, because for the people that are not familiar with it, it's a really interesting approach to learning.
It's the difference is, and the reason I kind of got involved, as you well know, in the childcare part of it, from an adult type business. So I didn't know a whole lot about childcare, didn't know a whole lot about the curriculum. So there was that learning curve, especially in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And we were going through a transition with all of the centers. We had the Mansfield Center we had just opened. We had a center in Arlington. We were thinking of opening other centers, other places. And so we were looking for a curriculum that we felt comfortable with. Well, there were several out at that particular point in time. And from a common sense standpoint, they just didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. They just didn't make sense. There were things like, well, you don't have to stand in line. Okay, well, man, that's not real life. Okay, once you turn 18, in fact, actually, when you go to school, you're going to spend half your life standing in line. Right. And other things like that just were not real world adaptable. And I think part of our responsibility in education is to teach our children how to function and what to expect when they are in the real world. So right. It's not a surprise. They blend in, they enjoy it, they have fun. It's not a constant battle. And we ran across Montessori. Now, the thing that really excited me about Montessori when I first found out about it is one of the first areas that you learn about in Montessori is called practical life. And in practical life, it teaches the children. Now, this starts at 2, 3, 4 years old. I mean, these are young children. It teaches them how to tie their shoe. It teaches them how to lock a lock. It teaches them how to use an egg beater and to basically beat an egg. Now, we don't start with eggs. We start with water, okay? But the concept of actually beating an egg is there. It teaches them, for instance, how to iron clothes. And again, we don't have a hot iron in the classroom, but there is an iron there where they can pretend to iron clothes and consequently learn those particular skills.
Right.
And anything else that you would think that you would do, how to clean, how to pick things up, how to pick up after yourself. One of the big issues in Montessori is the children go and most of the works are on shelves, on trays. And they'll pick up a particular work, they'll take it to their work area, they'll work on it, And while they're working on it, that is their work. No one else, unless they're invited, can just come in and basically butt in. No, that belongs to that child. So that's kind of a protected space. And then when that child's done with it, they put everything back where it's supposed to be on the tray. They take the tray and they put the tray back on the shelf.
Wow.
So they're taking it back to where they got it. One of the things in a Montessori classroom is the children will help to police and clean the classroom up at the end of the day. It's their environment. And this is part of making them proud of the environment and wanting to upkeep and maintain the environment that they spend a chunk of hours in every single day. So that's what really excited me in the beginning about Montessori. And all of this is hands-on. It's not, the teacher isn't there basically lecturing and the kids are sitting and listening. I mean, they're doing this stuff. So it's kind of learned by doing, learned by experiencing it. And that made sense to me. So at that point, it's like, okay, Montessori's it. That's where we're going.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I didn't know that. I mean, that's got me thinking of so many things, but I really love that. Like, clean your space, take ownership, and like take pride of it. That's something that I think a lot of us, it takes us a while to figure out, especially when you
and honestly, I mean, you pretty much ask anyone who knows me, there's a certain touch of OCD.
Yeah.
So that is, I think that's one of the reasons why the whole Montessori thing impressed me so much, because that's not something you normally find in traditional education.
Well,
and it's something that is really stressed in Montessori education. And so that just kind of hit home. And I said, okay, I can get behind this. Yeah.
And I was saying teaching responsibility at a young age is an important habit.
Right. Now that learning by doing, I mean, that carries over into other areas as well. It carries over into math, where we teach math through actual tools that represent the different numbers, the ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, the 10,000s. So that when children are learning math, they're literally seeing, they'll have a block with dots on it. Well, when they get to 10,000 dots, they will actually be able to look down and see, okay, that is 10,000 dots on these particular blocks. So it's easy for them to relate to. They physically get to see it, physically get to touch it, they get to create it. Same thing when it comes to verbal skills or reading. Again, it's all done with manipulatives, things that the children can pick up, use, organize to create what it is that they would like to have. And that's why the learning is so successful. I mean, we have kindergartners coming away that can count to 10,000 by hundreds.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Now, is that every single? Cool. No, it's not every single child. Obviously, the child is very gifted, but they have the opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, I love it. That is so cool.
That's incredible, and it feels more natural. Like having
the other big difference between Montessori and traditional learning. Traditional learning, you pretty much move at the pace of the teacher. Now, for the average child, that's great. If I'm in the middle someplace, man, I'm good. That works for me. If I'm a very bright child, that's not going to work real well because I'm going to get bored. And when children get bored, they start inventing things to do to solve their boredom. 99 times out of 100, that thing is not going to be positive. It's going to be something negative, something that's disruptive, if you will.
Yeah.
Then you've got the child at the other end of the spectrum who maybe in this particular subject, he may be great in math, but man, he just struggles with reading. And he can't keep up. He feels like he's lost constantly because you have to teach in that environment. You have to teach to that middle class, that middle child. And so you tend to kind of lose the really bright child, and you tend to kind of confuse the child that's struggling a little bit. Montessori, each child can move at their own pace. So the teacher is there through these manipulatives and through these different works to help the child, in essence, teach themselves.
Yeah.
So if you have a child that's really outstanding and wants to move, then you can move them along at whatever pace they need to move along to feel like they're accomplishing things and to keep them interested. If you have another child who isn't moving quite as fast, well, you can slow that subject down for them and allow them the time that they need in order to be able to master that and feel good about going on.
Perfect.
The fact that every single child can move at their own pace is very important. Now, there is a misnomer that Montessori, well, children get to do whatever they want to do. That's not true. There is a plan. No matter what the child is, they have to work on certain things during the day or certain subjects during the day. They can't do anything that's disruptive, but they get to choose what they want to learn within reason. Now, if it gets to the point where all the child wants to do is math stuff, at some point the teacher's going to come along and say, okay, well, we can do the math stuff, but before you get to that, I need to have you do maybe some of this language stuff first. Then we'll let you go ahead and do the math stuff. So you still have that balance, you still have that approach, but you're not trying to make everyone learn the same thing at the same time.
Yeah. Trying to standardize everybody into, an average.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is they say, like one size fits all poorly?
Yeah, not with children.
No, yeah.
And anyone who's had more than one child knows that. Even in our own children, there's no way one size fits any of them. So yeah.
Cool.
That is really cool. And I wanted to ask you something else that I think is really cool too, because you guys have a screen-free program. And I would like to preface that because we've all seen it. We see kids at mostly restaurants actually, but you've seen the kid with the iPad, and it's a problem.
It is, and especially, and this started a long time ago. In fact, my wife and business partner Sherry was the one that really was insistent upon this. That we not have any screens in the building. There are no TVs. The only screens in the building are computer screens that we use to basically run the business. Mm-hmm. There's no TVs. There's no TV time. You'll never walk in and see the teacher basically off, doing something in the corner or cleaning, and all the kids are gathered around a TV watching some kind of a cartoon. So that's what it means, is that there's just no screens. We don't use, and I do it, we all do it at different times in our life when we're going out to dinner or we're going out with company and we want to keep the kids entertained. So we stick your phone in front of them or an iPad in front of them. And that iPad or phone becomes the babysitter for whatever period of time that is. We don't feel there's a need for that in a learning environment. And because of the Montessori and the hands-on manipulatives that the children can use, we don't really need it. So we don't use it as a crutch. The other thing is even if you're careful, you never really know what message is being sent through those screens. Especially in this day and age. Now, when we first started, it wasn't a big deal, but that was 15 years ago. Well, now it is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
We don't have to worry about it because there are no screens, there is no TV, there are no movies. We find other ways to keep the children entertained.
Yeah, good.
That's excellent, because it's definitely gotten out of hand. And they're for one side, we know screens are addictive, and then the other side, they're supposed to be there learning, not just sitting there watching a movie, which is always, for me at least, it's a frustration when you're supposed to be having educational time and instead you're watching a cartoon. Like, that's not.
Well, playing outside, learning skills. You don't learn skills staring at a screen.
No, and well, I think pretty much all of us, or the three of us, are kind of generally in that same generational area.
We are.
Where there was no computers when we got home from school. Man, we got home from school, you changed your clothes, took your school clothes off, and you were outside, playing baseball or getting in the dirt pile or walking in the woods, or
after dark.
You were outside or work, or you had to work at some point.
Yeah. Come home for dinner.
Yep, come home for dinner.
It's those old traditional family values, and that's kind of what the program's all about.
That's good to know.
That's great. That is really cool.
Yeah, because they get enough of that at home. It's a nice change for them, probably. right? But
I know you can get away from them now. It's wild. Like they do it on like kids camps, like now in the summer, for example, like I'll try to sign up Joan for more active camps, but a lot of them will have a break in the middle of the day when they play a movie. And I'm like, I don't want you to be babysat by the TV.
right.
And that is what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as they turn the TV on, well, then you're no longer, your child's no longer being cared for by a caregiver. They're being cared for by the TV.
That's true.
And it's a crutch.
Absolutely.
Now it does make the teacher's life a little easier. Honestly, it really, just like doing it when you go out to dinner and you're out with friends, that makes your life a little easier for that hour and a half, 2 hours while you're having dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But on an everyday type basis, we just don't think it's good. So we just don't allow it. We
Perfect.
just don't allow any of it. So that way you don't have to worry about it taking over.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, whenever possible, just do those, like, as you call them, manipulatives, which is great. And, it's funny, but I hadn't really thought about it, but it transfers, right? My son now is 8 and I really don't like handing him the phone because I just try to avoid screens altogether. So, he's into Transformers. So when we're going to go out to eat, it's like, hey, bring some Transformers along. And then, he's done eating. Usually we adults take longer because we like to talk a little afterwards. And he just pulls out his Transformers and is playing, happily engaged. And, we get a break. And it reminds me of that kind of your approach with the school. Like, let's keep you engaged and let's keep that brain working.
Yeah, no, that's it. And that's it. It's very important. It really is. Now, there's a time and place for everything, but I do think that our kids today have too much screen time.
Yeah.
I think I have too much screen time. I would love to be able to
We all do.
get away from it. It's just, it's very difficult. It is when you get used to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
we also combine this with a discipline program called Love and Logic as well, which is melds very, very well with no screen time, melds very, very well with Montessori and the Montessori environment and the expectations of, the children behaving and acting in a responsible manner and not being disruptive. So between the Christian function, the Love and Logic discipline function, and the Montessori teaching curriculum, that's a pretty powerful combination. It honestly is.
Can you tell me, I'm not familiar with Love and Logic. Can you tell me a little more about it?
Oh, Love and Logic it's a program that came out of Colorado. The gentleman's name that started it escapes me right now, but it's been around for a long time. It's a nationally recognized program. And it honestly, it works great on adults too. So it's a program that's designed to avoid confrontation. In other words, your child's doing something wrong. The traditional thing is if you don't stop that, you're going to go to timeout, or you're going to do this, you're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you instantly set up, that confrontation. I want you to do this, you want to do that. So now we're at odds with each other. So Love and Logic tries to train you in such a way that you discipline through choices.
Yes.
Mm.
Bingo.
You like to continue doing what you're doing.
And you get to, and here's your
Not a
choice.
problem.
Here's your outcome. Right. Got it.
But here's your choice. If you continue doing that, then this consequence is going to happen.
Perfect.
Or this reward won't happen.
Yeah.
Now you decide what you would like to do and you let me know.
Perfect.
We have our oldest who just recently graduated from, our youngest who recently graduated from high school.
Mm-hmm.
He had been raised his whole life as a Love and Logic child. And it really got to the point when he was a junior in high school where he would Love and Logic his teachers.
Yeah.
He was so good at it. Now he
Why
was also
not?
sharp as a tack. And
Why not?
he got to the point where he could really use the system
Mm-hmm.
and to kind of get what he wanted as well. So what it does is it avoids, there's a lot more to it than that. You just Google Love and Logic and there's a whole series. There's workbooks for teachers, workbooks for educators, workbooks for administrators, workbooks for parents. They have a whole curriculum and I highly recommend it because man, it makes raising children a lot less stressful. It really does.
I bet. Yeah, I mean, you get to be an adult, you can use that same process in a lot of your conversations,
And
right?
you can. I mean,
It's perfect.
you can use it in adult
There's
relationships
your
as well.
choice.
Yeah. If you get to choose. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You get to make the
No,
choice.
your choice.
However, based on the choice that you make, here's either the reward or the consequence.
That's exactly right.
And it kind of mirrors real life. If you make choices, most of them as an adult either have a reward or a consequence. So it's,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over.
I remember those as a kid. Hey, son, you can go do your homework. It's your choice. You don't have to, but if you don't, that baseball game tomorrow, you're not going to be there. Okay.
So, Herdy, you remember that as a child?
Oh my, yeah. I was being yes, of course.
Okay, I was going to say, Herdy, your parents were obviously different because I never ever heard anything like that.
My dad was one of the lead engineers in the guidance systems for Apollo spacecraft. He thought in logical ways. 1, 2, 3. He was an engineer. There was no, you know what I'm saying? When his brain talked, it gave you choices.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was his whole life. His whole life was a choice. Are we going to put this in here or that in there? Yeah. Yes, I remember it. When you brought that up, I immediately went, "Oh my gosh!" Yeah,
That's funny. My choices were either
I made some bad choices, just so you know.
That's it. Yeah. Either do what you're supposed to do or else, and don't even think about asking, well, what does or else mean?
And P.S. I made some bad choices, just so you know.
That's awesome. I love that. I also wanted to point out, too, that I do love it when your kids start using logic against you. Because, I mean, to me, it makes me proud. Joven's gotten me so many times with my own logic. It's like, well, you've told me about this. So if you're not doing it, you're not going to get what you want, right? I'm like, you're right, buddy.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I'm going to go take care of that now.
Yeah. Watch what you teach because it'll probably come back to haunt you. Yeah,
it probably will.
Yeah. But that means you're doing a good job. I mean, if they can turn that around and use it on you, obviously they're getting the lesson, and that's important. That's what we're supposed to do with our children is to teach them the skills and the things that they need in order to be productive adults when they grow up. That's the responsibility. That's why we're parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thank you.
Agreed.
I learned a lot just there. That's really cool. I might use that with clients. Just don't tell them.
Yeah, but I mean, Google it, and it really is a great program. You'll make your family life way happier, way easier. Absolutely.
Great tip. Now I wanted to pivot a little bit and talk to you a little bit about another important aspect, which is community.
Yeah.
And being involved in the community, and I know that's important to all your organizations. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that.
Sure. We when we opened the Children's Academy in 1995, we had just moved to Mansfield. We had just gotten married to my second wife. I lived in Fort Worth. She lived in Arlington, and we decided to make Mansfield our family home, for lack of a better word. And so we knew no one. I mean, all of my friends were in Fort Worth. Most of hers were in Arlington. So we wanted to meet people. And one of the ways that we did that was by getting involved in the community. We were one of the first organizations involved in Mansfield Cares, which is now one of the largest charity organizations in the Mansfield area. Lance Walker, who is still my banker 30 years later, was Lance and Cindy were pretty much instrumental in getting that whole charity organization started. And back then it's kind of like, well, Lance is my banker, so if Lance tells me to stand in the corner and spit with nickels, I'm going to try to do that. And so he said, Russ, we're going to join Mansfield Cares. Yes, sir. I'm on board. No, I say that tongue in cheek. It was a great cause, and I think we did a lot of good. Now I've kind of strayed away from that a little bit, but being involved in the community has always been important.
Yeah.
Giving back to the community has always been important, whether it's the Children's Academy or it's the firearms store or the promotional store. Yep. We as businesses, as a family, we take a lot out of the community. The community gives us a lot. They give us a great living, a great place to raise our kids, great school systems, great business environments, and you have to give back. You have to say thank you in more ways than just simply saying it. We feel you have to show it occasionally too. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's part of our DNA. It started all the way back with the Children's Academy, and it just kind of stays there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I love that, 1983, like just so many years to see the progression, see everything kind of like at the beginning, and now as time has gone, have you seen it grown? And being involved with that is, I think it's something that maybe like for us that don't have or have been in business for as long, lose sight of that the community involvement that you do now will have ripple effects. And that's a really cool, it's a really cool thing to look back at, through the lens of your eyes and just kind of see that.
Yeah. I mean, there's when we built the Children's Academy, Country Club Drive was a 2-lane road.
Yes.
Okay, without a median. I mean, it was just 2 lanes with a line down the middle.
That is correct.
And shortly after we built the school, they widened it and divided it and did all of that. Yeah. So we have seen a lot of growth in the Mansfield area since we first moved here in 1994. Actually, I think is when we moved here.
Amazing.
And then opened the school in 95.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 287 off 20 was kind of, where's that go?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you went down up Turner Warnell and you saw houses the size of on the west side, the sizes of big, huge properties over there, kind of hidden out there in that direction. So
and there was actually farmland between Mansfield and Arlington then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't one subdivision after another. There was actually, there was green space with trees and cattle and horses and But that's
I was going to add to your thought, Russ. One of the things that really helps people is if you can't give of your money because maybe you're not at that level, give of your time. If you get involved in your communities, like your chambers and things of that nature, and get to know people, it helps your business. But really, you just feel fulfilled that you're actually helping the community in some sort of small way. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I have a friend of mine that calls it the 3 T's. And he says what he wants, he runs a nonprofit organization, and what he wants from his volunteers is either one or all of the above. I want your time, I want your talent, and I want your treasure.
Right.
If you don't have much treasure, then give me your talent and your time. If
Correct.
You don't have much time and talent or time and treasure, well, then give me your talent.
Right.
But everyone has something to offer on a volunteer basis. And
Absolutely.
You may not have $1 million where you can just spend money or donate money. And yes, it does take money to make these things happen. But there's lots of other things you can do where you simply give them your time. And if your time is somewhat limited, well, then give them your talents. Obviously, if you're making a living doing something or have a hobby doing something, what you've learned either through running a business or through that hobby are probably very, very important and very valuable skills that charity would love to have that they don't have to pay for.
Yeah.
Especially now, I mean, service industries, it's pretty expensive if you have to start hiring, graphic designers and hiring attorneys or hiring accountants. I mean, it can eat up a big chunk of your budget if you're a nonprofit.
Yep, absolutely. It's just important.
Yeah, time, talent, and treasure is what he would say.
I like it. 3 T's.
That's great. Easy to remember too. So we talked a little bit about the past. So now let's fast forward a little bit into the future. Where do you see the future in the Mansfield childcare and private schools?
Wow. I think the next year or two is going to be critical and pivotal as far as the school system in the whole state of Texas is concerned. Texas just recently passed the voucher program, and where now the money, for lack of a better word, the money now follows the child. It's not automatically funneled into the local public school. It's going to take a while for that whole thing to shake itself out. It doesn't start till 2026, I believe. So in the fall of 2026, that program will take hold, and parents will now be able to choose where they would like their children to go to school and where they would like, I believe it's approximately $10,000 where they would like to spend that on the education of their child. So it's a system right now that's kind of in flux. We don't know what's going to happen as far as that's concerned. We have people who think it's a great idea, best thing ever. We have other people who say, oh, horrible idea. It's going to ruin the public school system. And you pretty much have probably an even amount just about on both sides.
Yeah.
So that's going to all shake out in the next year or two as we go through this transition. So as a school, as a private school, when we consider our kindergarten program, our goal is to maintain what we are, what we have always been. We are a hands-on learning facility for young children. Our mission statement states that we operate the business, we teach the children in such a way that God and Jesus Christ would be proud of them. We have those Christian values. We have those traditional family values. We've always had that. We will always have that. So while this turmoil is kind of going around, what we want to be is we want to be that rock or that island where people can go and say, okay, at least I know here what's coming next week. I may not know in my public school or my other private school or my charter school as all of this stuff shakes out. But at least I know at the Children's Academy, they've been this for 30 years and they're not changing anytime soon. So let's park our boat here until we figure out what's going to happen with the rest of this this picture. So it's going to be an interesting couple of years. It really is.
But it's really smart.
Yeah.
Stick to your guns, so to speak. I don't mean, no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. Wrong podcast. That was last week or last month.
I couldn't help it. It just,
Previously in the Mansfield bus.
I just couldn't back that up.
Yeah. Well, that's true, and it's sticking to just doing what you do and do it great, because now it's more of a choice. So you want to be doing a good job, which you should always want to, right? But I think, from what I'm seeing is like the schools and the people that are doing a good job and are actively trying, they're the ones that are going to shine forward.
I think the schools that are going to benefit from this, or I hope the schools are going to benefit from this, are the schools that gear their education to the child.
Yes.
And gear their education to not only teaching the child the skills that they need, math, writing, arithmetic, so on and so forth, but also prepare the child to be able to function in our democracy, to function in our society. I think that's just as important as important as teaching them the learning skills.
Yeah, that's right.
The one piece of advice that I would give anybody from doing this for 30 years is if you have a child and that child is 3, 4, 5 years old, 6 years old, they're beginning to try to read and they're struggling. Do something now.
Right.
Intervene now. Get a tutor now. Get testing now. Find out what's going on. Don't wait until that child is in 2nd or 3rd grade. And now all of a sudden they're so far behind, they have almost no chance of getting caught up. The other part of that is they spent 2 or 3 years struggling. That does a huge hit on their self-esteem and their confidence. Right. And that's not good. So when children first start reading, it's important that they get it. Because if they don't get it at 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, that part of the brain begins to slow down. I mean, that part of the brain is activated in those age groups for children to learn those skills. Yep. Well, at some point, that begins to shut down and it becomes harder and harder and harder for them to learn. So when it comes to those reading skills, it's nothing else can happen for the rest of their life if they can at least read and function literally in the world. So yeah, if you have a child that's struggling with that, man, find out early why and what it is. Don't wait, don't put it off. Get them the help that they need so that they can read and be successful.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, great advice. And so now I wanted to get a little bit more into the more I guess nuts and bolts of the school, and just talk a little bit about the procedures and things. One thing that caught my attention is you guys don't have any cameras in your classroom.
No, we don't. And we've asked this. Parents ask us all the time. Well, not all the time, but new parents will say, "Well, do you have cameras in all the classrooms?" No, we don't. And so they'll say, "Well, why don't you?" And there's a couple reasons why we don't. All right. Number one, we don't have cameras in the classroom because when I go to work, I'm not in the school every single day.
Mm-hmm.
My office out of the gun store, and I'm in the promotional store. But I would not want to have a camera on me all day long while I'm doing my job.
Right.
Sometimes I have great days. Sometimes I have not such great days. And I honestly really don't want a video record of that that's just kind of out there for anyone to basically see. The other thing is it's difficult, almost impossible to have enough cameras where you're catching every angle. So quite often, you think you saw something on the camera because of this angle. You really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mirage or a vision, if you will. But most importantly, and we tell every single parent that comes in, and again, this kind of goes back to that family owned. We're in the businesses every single day. We know what's going on. All of our classroom have windows. So you can go up and down the hallway and you can look and see what's happening in the classroom. So there's no blind spots as far as the school is concerned. And there's lots of supervision that's going on. But if you as a parent, when you drop your child off at whatever childcare center or whatever private school you're going to, if you say to yourself, for me to feel comfortable taking my child to this school, I need to have cameras. I need to check on them all day long. You need to find a different childcare center. Okay, you should have the confidence and the trust in the directors and the staff and the owners, knowing that they are taking care of your child. They're doing it to the best, very, very best of their ability, and you don't have to check in on them 24/7. And with that philosophy, and again, the no screen philosophy, it works for us. And most of our parents, they understand that. Now occasionally we've had parents, especially new parents who are touring and kind of looking around who go down, nope, not for me. I want the cameras. Okay. We understand. Okay. We're not a center for everybody.
Yeah.
We're a center for those people who want what we have to offer, which again is that more traditional Christian values, Montessori learning, hands-on experience. Same thing. We're not the gun store for everybody. We're not the promotional store for everybody.
Right.
So that's kind of where that whole thing came from, and it works real well for us. It really does.
And I would say, Russ, to add to that point, that you don't have in your questions your process, but actually the parents getting to go through the vetting session with you guys. They get to see the tours. They get to come visit with y'all. They get to go through everything to understand how it all works, right? So by the time they're done, they're either going to know or not know.
Right. Yeah. And the school's open. I mean, they can come in anytime they want to.
Right. That's what I'm saying. You guys don't lock the doors.
Have big windows in them, so you can see what's going on in the
knock on the door and they'll let you in. That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You do have to knock on the. We have a secured entrance, so you do have to knock on the door.
You should. That's good.
Ring the bell. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. But I love that. It's a thing about trust, and that is one of the things that we're lacking the most nowadays. Is we're in a severe trust epidemic, and there needs to be trust with the people you're dealing with, and you have trust in the people that are helping you run the school, and the parents. Should feel that trust in how you are taking care of their children, not needing to plug into a phone and just keep checking in on that. And as you mentioned too, cameras, the compression, I'm a photographer, so I'm going to get a technical with it, but what a lens capture is not it's not real life, right? My hand is not 4 times the size of my head. It's just closer to the camera.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah, very good point.
Wow. Holy, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, so Russ, one more thing before he gets to your last question. And that oh my gosh, don't tell me I sit here and my brain went dead on me. I'll think of it in a second.
I'll ask a question.
Yeah,
Okay.
ask your question because mine was pretty important. I just forgot it.
I wanted to ask you about drop off because you're also a little bit different from other centers.
When it comes to drop off, for obviously this is age appropriate. So starting, I'm guessing probably about 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The parents drop the children off at the front door on the porch, and then the children then come to the front door. They greet the teacher, whoever the director is at the door, say good morning, shake hands, and then they go into their classroom. So it starts teaching that independence. Very, very early on. And how do you greet someone? You know, when you first met someone, I mean, it's amazing. You've got 3 and 4 year olds that have been created in a Montessori environment, have no problems walking up to an adult, shaking their hand and saying, well, good morning. How are you today? And you kind of go, whoa, wait a minute. Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
I guarantee you more than likely that child's in a Montessori environment because that's part of what's taught. That's part of that teaching them how to function and be responsible citizens. So we do that. Now in the afternoon, the parents, they do come in and they pick up from the classrooms. After the COVID thing, we did make that change where the parents are involved, or they do come into the classroom in the afternoon and evenings. But in the morning now, and the other thing is in the morning, parents, they want to get to work. They do. They don't want to get into a 10-minute conversation with the teacher or the director. The teacher and the director, they just got there. They want to get ready and get set for their day. They don't want to have a 10-minute conversation with the parent at that particular point in time. So the other thing that this does is the child comes in, it teaches that child independence, teaches the child to walk to the door, to greet the adult. The teacher can then take that child and start getting him ready for the day. The parent can get back in their car and head to work. And then if there's anything that needs to be discussed, well, we try to do that in the afternoon or evening hours.
So Sandra just gave me a wink and forget my question, but I have it now. So I'm going to ask it so I don't forget it again. And that is, tell us a little bit about holidays. Tell us a little bit about hours, operational hours, according to how the school district works if they have a closed day for snow or ice or holidays. How do you guys follow the normal holidays for closing, or are you always open, or how does that work?
Well, our normal hours are 6:30 to 6:30, Monday through Friday, which is pretty typical of childcare centers. Education Day generally runs from 8:30 to 3:30. Now, there's still education that goes on prior to that, after that, but the bulk of the learning is from that 8:30 to 3:30 time block. We're closed for the 8 major holidays, including New Year's Eve. So the 8 major holidays, we are closed. We do close twice a year on a minor holiday. For instance, we're closed on Good Friday because most parents can take Good Friday off. Well, what we do on Good Friday, and then one other day, I can't remember what holiday it is, we do parent-teacher conferences. So there's no children in the center, but the parents can come in the center. They can meet with the teachers. We can go over where the child is, concerns that we're seeing, things that are great and terrific and fabulous. We want to continue to encourage. So those 2 days we're not really closed, but we do close to taking care of children so we can have those conferences.
It's awesome.
We got to the point where for a long time we were not. We did get to the point where we would close when Mansfield would close. In other words, a Mansfield school district, if they opened late, we opened late. If they closed, we closed. We simply mirror what they do. I really honestly think we're going to go back in the future to, if Mansfield closes, then what we will do is we will have shorter hours. So if Mansfield closes for the whole day, okay, we're going to say, all right, we can't be there at 6:30 in the morning, but we will be there at 8:30 in the morning. We aren't going to stay till 6:30 in the evening, but we will have some staff that will get there and they'll stay till maybe 3:30, 4:30 in the afternoon. So if you're one of those parents where you don't have the option of saying, man, I'm really sorry, but my kid's school closed today, I'm not going to work. If you're a police officer, you don't get to do that. If you're a fireman, you don't get to do that.
Right.
If you're a nurse or a doctor, you don't get to do that. In fact, honestly, during those periods, it's more important that those people show up for work, because chances are those are when bad things happen, is when we have nasty weather, so on and so forth. So
Right.
we try to stay open so that we can be a convenience, especially to those parents who have no choice. They still have to go to work and they still have to do something with their child.
Good to know.
That makes us different. And it's always made us different.
Yeah, and it's good to know.
That's
So there's the website, Virulently Intense. A lot of great information on there. I guess there's not a whole lot. If they don't go to your website, Russ, they don't see everything. You know, you've got scheduling and I guess menus type stuff on there, and all the how the process to register and how to come meet you guys for consulting on bringing your child. But the bottom line is, who would you rather use? Somebody that's only been around the block for maybe a year or two that's popped up, or somebody that's been in the community doing this with all this experience and expertise for 30 years? That's the question. And the proof is in the pudding, because they have generations of kids now bringing their kids. And what better proof is that you're a reliable, legitimate, full integrity business. So Russ, that's a compliment to you guys for what you've done.
Oh man, I could not say that better myself. I heard that was awesome. Thank you.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, if you think about it, people use businesses because of their experience and their knowledge and what they've learned from in between the lines, so to speak, right? That somebody new hasn't gone through that learning curve yet, right? And childcare has become a very big business. Let's face it. It's huge business, and that's why you see a lot of them popping up around, and even in-home childcare, which scares me, but that's beside the point.
There was a study that was done recently, and in large metropolitan areas, Dallas-Fort Worth is one of those, it is not unusual for a family to spend more each year on childcare than what they're going to spend when that child goes off to college, as far as tuition is concerned.
Wow.
So in large metropolitan areas where childcare tends to be very expensive because of salaries and so on and so forth, it's very easy, especially in an infant level.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to spend more money on childcare than you will when that child becomes a freshman and goes off to college.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So be picky, but these guys, with relationship, Russ, Sherry, we've known them for a while, and I'm telling you, good place. And I'm gonna go shoot a video of it tomorrow so we can put it back up on the archive of this and show a short. But then I'm gonna go film your location tomorrow. So that's really cool, Russ. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any final thoughts? This is your second podcast with the Mansfield Buzz. You like it?
Oh, I love it. I think it's a great program. It's a great show. I think you do a great service for the community, highlighting different businesses and different things that are going on. And I think you definitely have it down to a science now. It works. You've got a great formula going on. So I look forward to next month when we can talk about the promotional store.
Well, here's something you don't know. Your little short that we created from your last show is at 998 views.
Wow, that's awesome.
That does mean something online. Okay. That's and with the watch percentage of over 80%. So what can I tell you? So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And we'll share some more stats with it. So thanks for being with us, guys. We are on every Thursday from 2 to 3 on the Mansfield Buzz. Next week is Sandways. You're going to meet Kristen, and it'll be fun. Jordan's doing some work with them right now, helping them out their marketing, but I'm looking forward to having her on because she does lots of cool things with this, with the equipment. They bought some super high-end equipment that's perfect for the corporations that they're working on real specialty items. So we'll see them next week. So stick with us for a few minutes, Russ, so we can make sure we captured your audio. Guys, thanks for being on the Mansfield Buzz. We'll see you next week right here at 2:00. Come join us. Come chat with us. Come have a good time. But most of all, tell your friends and come subscribe to this great channel. Have a great day.
Okay. Thank y'all. You have a great day.
Bye.
Take care.